I want to turn next to the in-town theatrical professional expenses. So, accompanist and audition expense. If you've had to pay somebody to, help you with, go with you for scene work, to play music for you, to do whatever it is, help you in your, you've got to show them that you can do fight work, you hire somebody to go with you and do an audition. That's where this expense goes, right? Advertising and publicity. New photos, resumes, what you pay for your website, Actors Access, casting networks, all of those things. Now, when you first sign up for these things, they give you some kind of a little contract, right? I mean, they say, this is what we do. Do you agree? And give us your payment. And this can be a recurring payment in some ways. It can also be something that you pay as you go. Keep track of those agreements that you make, because that's going to be the proof of what you're buying. And I will say, before we get too far into the weeds on this, credit card statements are not acceptable proof in an audit, ever. They can be supporting. You can say, well, I've got my credit card statement here, and it came in, and let's see, I've got the receipt, I've got an invoice for this, and I lost my credit card receipt. I don't know what happened to it. They might let it slide for one or two items. But for the most part, you really need that credit card receipt. If you have purchased something online, in person, whether you've swiped or entered your card, you will get a receipt. That receipt is essential to prove what you purchased. The credit card statement doesn't prove what you purchased. It just proves that you paid a company of some kind, right? And I had a really heartbreaking situation with a member some years ago who, about 4 or 5 years ago, came to us for audit help, and she had nothing but credit card statements. Nothing. No receipts at all. And she had traveled. She had paid for hotels, equipment, any number of things, rental cars, and she had not one receipt. Not one. And the examiner said, well, they're all lost. They're gone. And I needless to say, I worked with the examiner for some months. I managed to claw back about 65% of the stuff, but I couldn't, there wasn't anything I could do. I mean, I said, where are your receipts? She said, I threw them out. So, okay, well, don't be doing that next year. So, that's what this is for, right? Is to tell you to keep all those stupid pieces of paper, scan them in somewhere if you don't want to keep hard copies, put them on your thumb drive, put them on your hard drive, tattoo them on your arm. I don't care where they go. Just make sure that you keep them, because in the event of an examination, you need them. You need to show what it was that you were paying for and how you paid for it. And that's the best advice I can give you. If you have an invoice and you've written a check, they can go together. But the canceled check or a picture of it or some evidence on your bank statement has to be there to go with that invoice, because it'll have the name of the payer. It'll have whoever you paid. Whereas Best Buy doesn't tell you what you bought. It just doesn't, right? You could have bought lamps at Best Buy. Maybe not. All right, so agents, commissions, and managers' fees. The best place to find proof for that is where? On your pay stub. Right, on your pay stub. Yeah, most agents, I don't know any who want you to get the check first and then send them the 10%. I haven't met one. I'm sure they're alive somewhere. But so what happens? They say, no, we'll take care of that. We'll get your check, and then we'll send your money along to you. And you see the gross amount, the federal withholding, the Social Security, the Medicare, the state, and sometimes if you live in a place with a city like Detroit or Cleveland or New York City or some other cities that have their own taxes, it'll show the SDI, right, that disability insurance, and it'll show the agent's commission. Boom, agent. That's where you'll find it. I would save all those pay stubs and my original contract with the agent if I'm signed with someone, and if I'm not, I would probably print out something from their website to show that it's a legitimate theatrical agent, and that name shows up on my pay stub. Boom, I'm done, right? That's what I paid. If you want to get a little more OCD about it, you can always ask the agent or manager at year end to provide you with something on their letterhead that says, for the calendar year 2015, Joe Dokes paid this agency $2,678. Boom, done, and it's on their letterhead, and you shove it in your materials, and you're ready for that to be examined. Equipment and business software. Auto expense. I'm sorry, we'll get to that in a minute. Coaching, classes, and lessons. I alluded to this earlier. If it maintains or improves your current job skills, then it's deductible. And this is also a good juncture for me to say, ask yourself when you leave the house every day, and you have to leave the house every day because you've got to go out and, stop at your union and do all these things. Meet your friends for coffee, download apps, whatever. You're out and about. Ask yourself, would I be buying this, doing this, paying for this, enrolling in this, reading this, were I not in the industry I'm in? If the answer is no, chances are very good it's tax deductible. So I want you to start thinking like that. I want you to start thinking about every expenditure you make. And think about, if I weren't in show business, would I even be thinking of getting this? Would I care? Is this a personal expense? I mean, if you're meeting your squeeze for dinner, that's fine. I mean, you can do that. That's probably not showbiz, although it might be. Really. Sometimes, hi, honey. All right. So, just ask yourself that question, because if the answer is no, it's probably on this list somewhere, and you probably should save the receipt. Coaching, classes, and lessons. So what are they? Voice, dance, acting, dialects, martial arts, fencing, whatever you can think of that you do. A lot of people do pay-for-play stuff. They go to studios, they pay a fee, they meet casting directors, they do some stuff on camera. Sometimes it's monologues, sometimes it's scenes. Sometimes there are agent showcases, as they call them, right? You pay to go into those, and there'll be 5 or 6 agents, casting directors, and you sing your best 16, or you do your best dialogues, whatever it is. Those are tax deductible, but you've got to get receipts. You've got to have some kind of an agreement that you either sign with them, or some proof when you signed up with them to say, I'm enrolling in this, right? And I'm paying for this. That gets printed out, that gets saved. And then when you get there, or if they're, good business people, they will send you a receipt, either online, in response to your email, or they'll provide you one at the point of purchase, so to speak, when you go into the class. Equipment and business software. Look at the bottom of this sheet, and you will see some areas for itemization of your equipment and business software. And again, ask yourself, were I not in show business, would I be buying this, right? This microphone, this GarageBand, this whatever it is, software. Would I be buying another tablet? Would I be buying an iPad? Any kind of equipment. Sometimes it's your main computer. Sometimes it's your main phone, right? So we ask, what's the cost of it? When did you buy it? What's the cost of it? And what percentage is it used for business? Oh, big question. I know. I wrote an article on this a year or so ago, and I think people just rolled their eyes and just said, I can't do this. But if you want to make a reasonable argument, and I have been in these audits, trust me, the reasonable argument is I kept a log, right? Now with a cell phone, it's pretty easy because you can get an itemized bill online. That's not difficult. And you can look through and see what calls were made. The actual calls will be there. I mean, you don't always get an itemized bill, but you can. You can simply look for it. You can, click on the itemization and the detail. And if you do this once every quarter, so you do it once in the first quarter, once in the second quarter, third and fourth, and you can see your phone use. I say the data package is 100% justified. That's what I say, and I've won it in audits. I don't have a problem with it. Why do I say that? Because you guys are out and about all the time. You have to be available by text, by email. You have to have, all the different caller kinds of things that you can hook up. You've got to be able to have sophisticated enough operating systems on your phone to download what you need, to read what you need, and so on. And especially today, what agent gives you hard copies for sides? It's all online. Half the time you're reading it on something this big, saying, "Oh God, I've got to do that." They didn't highlight it. Yeah, I know, really, it's pathetic. But there you are. There you are, looking at your phone or looking at your tablet, and trying to prepare for an audition that is in 2.5 hours downtown, and you've got 3 pages of sides. So your data package, as far as I'm concerned, is easily justified. It's the rest of the phone that isn't. Because how many people here have a landline besides loser Karas here? Okay, right. Yeah, so a few of you. Right, yeah. So, I have the big Al. My kids go, "Mom, a land, really?" And they look at me and my husband and they go, "Mom and Dad, what do you guys still have this for?" We go, "I don't know, it's just sort of there, we like it." So if you have a landline, notice, well, I'll get to it, but when we get to phone, business percentage only, or 100% for your second line. Guess who gets to deduct 100%? Yeah. You and you and you and yeah, few of us fossils with the landlines. But those of you who have just a cell phone, you have to apportion somehow. And how are you going to do that? Well, as I said, you look through the itemization and you say, "Oh, there's my agent. There's another agent. Oh, there's the squeeze. That doesn't count. There's, I called for this class. I did a pay for play. I called there. I called my teacher, my coach, and you add up all this. Oh, there's mom. There's, some friends. And maybe you have 62% business in that month. And then the next quarter in, say, June, you have 48% business because it's quiet, right? But then in October, you've got 78% business. And in December, maybe even more. You take those 4 quarters, you average them, and you say 100% data package plus an average of my usage. And there it is for the examiner to look at, and you can do an apportionment for not only the purchase of your phone, but the use of your phone calls. So when I say telephone, I mean not just if you buy a new phone, but your monthly, your annual usage of the charges. Now, when we get to other kinds of equipment, like a computer, that's tougher because you have to keep a time log. I know. You're looking at me and thinking, okay, I think we need a martini now because, who keeps a time log? Well, I'm suggesting that once every quarter, 4 times a year, you keep a week's worth of computer use, internet, and you're going to do the same thing for your television, your cable, right? Now, really, you're thinking, I'm not deducting this. This is ridiculous. I'm not deducting a computer again as long as I live. But in the event of an audit, and you just make up a number and you say 75%, they're going to say, how did you arrive at that? Where's that written? And you're going to say, well, I took, the average number of hours I did in this week was, see, he's leaving already. He hates this. He's saying, I've had it with this. I was on my computer, 28 hours this week. I was on my television 15 hours this week, whatever it is. And of those hours, I spent X amount of time, doing theatrical research, classes, reading, whatever for the business, emailing back and forth to my agent, my manager, my coach, this, that, and the other, right? And the rest of the time I spent, hanging out with my friends online or emailing my mother or whatever it was. And the same with the television. This was research. This part was not, That was just the Broncos game. Yeah, just did that for fun. Was everybody happy about that? I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Yeah, was it a good thing? Okay, all right, good. Denver! I don't know. I didn't watch it. My husband watches that. That's his job. So we've gotten through the equipment and business software, and I'm telling you, if we've gotten your first computer out of the way with your business apportionment, what happens with the second, third, and fourth computers? Guess what rules stage managers all know, right? What did I say about the landline? The second phone is 100%. Well, the second computer is 100%. The third computer is 100%. As long as we got that first one that we're figuring out what we're doing with. The tablets, I say are 100% because you're carrying them with you everywhere. It's like that data package, So I feel that they can be justified. I mean, it's your call, but I don't think I think it's a no-brainer on that. So if you've got an iPad, if you've got, any kind of, players of any kinds, and you've purchased those, I say those 100% as well, because you purchase them so that you can be on the go with them. Otherwise you could be at home listening to stuff, right? So, gifts for business, limited to $25 per recipient per year. Gifts for business, right? You send your agent a wine basket. You send your manager a wine basket. You send your coach a wine basket. And it costs more than $25. So what's the way around that? You send the agency the wine basket. You send the manager's office the wine basket. There's more than one person there. So that makes sense. If it's a coach, you might be limited. Maybe the coach and the accompanist. I don't know. But Congress limited this because people were abusing it. Not actors, but other people. Wall Street. Okay. Makeup and hair care only when you're working. I'm sorry. Internet and or cable expenses. We talked a little bit about this. Same thing. You have to apportion, right? Makeup and hair care only when you're working. When you're working. I say that you can, not for an audition, but for new headshots. I say the whole makeup and the hair thing for the headshots is justified because that's your promotional piece. Now, I know you're saying, gee, we're interviewing, we're auditioning, we're up at ECCs and EPAs all the time, and we're going in for go-sees and interviews, and geez, that's not right. Well, the Congress's stance is that everybody puts on their best face and their best clothes to interview for a job. What makes you any different? Just because you do it more often. They don't understand that part, but, they do say looking for work, how you present yourself looking for work. But I will go just one step further and protect you by saying, if you're going to have the whole thing done up for new headshots, I say you get the hair and the makeup that day. You get that cost because that's very specific to photography, and it's not like an in-person interview. Office supplies, stationery, and postage. Goes without saying, if you have mailers and things you have to send out, anything that you have to print, your toner and stuff that you might need to stay current and keep yourself in the game. We see a lot fewer expenses in this area because people don't mail out photos and resumes anymore. But you do mail out postcards. You pay for postage for those. So, don't forget that these things can add up. Rental of studio space or equipment, if you have to rehearse something, or if you have to rent equipment to put yourself on tape, get the receipt, and deduct it on your tax returns. Repairs of equipment, repairs of wardrobe, repairs of musical instruments, warranty, maintenance contracts, those kinds of things. Don't overlook that stuff because it's easy to buy, something and then forget about it. And all of a sudden, I mean, if you're playing guitar in Jersey Boys and, it's being restrung all the time. I mean, I have a guy who's a musician. He buys more strings than, you know, than anyone. It's an amazing amount of cost for him. But he never forgets it. He always puts it down. If you have wardrobe that you use that are costumes for sets or things that you've been asked to provide that are uniforms, police, fire, hospital, doctor, nurse, things that are not streetwear, and you have to keep those in good repair. Sometimes military, some people have military wear that they use, and when they're doing background work, these are mostly background people who have this requirement. When you work in the theater, they usually provide you with everything you need to wear, but sometimes you provide your own underwear, and they pay you for it. Or shoes. You might provide your own shoes, and they pay you for those too. So those aren't deductible. Research and miscellaneous supplies, sheet music, books, DVDs, scripts, iTunes, headphones, uploads, downloads, all that kind of stuff. Don't forget about it. Get the receipt. Keep the receipt somewhere. Stage managers' supplies. I always include this here because our stage managers usually have to put together quite an extensive kit. And that kit can, it's got everything from first aid to measuring devices to timers to stopwatches to you name it. Sharpies, I don't know, whatever the kit contains, and blacks. And tools. They've got toolkits as well. So anything that's not reimbursed that is required for your work. Some stage managers are required to have a laptop and use their own laptop. If your contract doesn't specify it, I would have, a rider or an attachment or something, or even just a letter saying you're expected to use your own laptop on this tour. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. The laptop is not provided to the stage manager. So be aware of that. And if you're one of those people who's being asked to bring your own computer and any other equipment, make sure that you've got some kind of a statement from the employer saying it was required for you to go on that tour and they weren't going to provide it for you. Let's see, where are we? Tax prep, legal fees, professional fees, business related only, not getting your will done, but reviewing a contract. Certainly tax prep's always deductible. Any kind of professional expenses that you have that's related to your work. So if you're somebody who's copywriting your creative work, make sure that you keep the receipts of everything that's related to that, including the legal fees. Telephone, we talked about this percentage of business use, right? You know how to do it now, and it's a slam dunk, right? Yeah. But those of us with the landline, we get 100%. It's so fun. Da, da, da. Okay, I'm just, Tickets for research, for theater, film, concert, dance, Netflix, but it's only for you. It's not for the squeeze. It's not for your niece. It's not, Save those tickets and save the playbills, the whatever else, you might have that proves what the event was. I always recommend, and I've seen it many, many times in audits, that you save all of your tickets to concerts, theater, film, dance, and what have you. Why? Because if you're examined and you've spent, I'm just going to use round numbers here, say $1,100 on all of these things all year, but your actual tax deduction is $782. It's very impressive to an examiner when you say, oh, I had this one and I had this. Oh, that was just I took my niece to Frozen. Oh, yeah. And then I had this one, and so on, right? And that was just something we went to with my parents, and that was personal, and this was personal, but that was business, and that was business. And you also must tie it in to your particular research. It's not enough that it's in the business. That's not enough. It isn't. And I know you're saying, well, why not? I'm a student of the theater. I have to see everything. Well, yeah, it's probably a good idea, but the examiner will say, well, how did that particular ticket, that particular show or concert or production relate to you and your work? And you say, well, gee, my agent tells me I'm, kind of a Mark Ruffalo type, and I've got to see all of his movies, so I always do. And, that's one thing. Or, well, I know an AD who's always on these films, and I really try and keep up with him because I meet with him periodically, and he submits me for stuff for like background or maybe, small parts because I don't have an agent. Or I know the choreographer who works with this director, and I want to get in to see this director because I want to at least be considered for chorus or understudy or replacement or whatever it is, right? Tie the work to you. Is there a type that's right for you? Is there a director you've wanted to meet? Is there an AD you have gotten to know? Is there a PSM whom you think is going to be a really great connection for you, right? These things are important. So that's what you have to connect to the viewing. And if you can connect yourself to those viewings, and I don't think it's very difficult. I mean, sometimes your agent just says, I want you to see this, and this. And if you don't see certain things that you've been submitted for, if the question is, if you're examined, can we just know this mentally and be able to tell the examiner? I would write it all down because most audits now, virtually all audits, are by correspondence. You don't even talk to, so you can demand to see someone and sit down at an audit with someone, and that's your right and your privilege under law. There's so few people working now in these agencies. Congress has cut funds. The states have cut funds. You're lucky if you find 2 or 3 people in any of these offices anymore. And the chances are very good if you request an in-person audit that they'll put you off for God knows how long, and it just prolongs the agony. They say, can't you just send it to us and we'll look at it? So be prepared to write it all down is what I say, and make the case next to each one. I mean, I've had some clients who just do such beautiful descriptions of things, The following were recommended by my agent because I've been submitted for the and I'm and here's my picture, and here's my resume, and this is what I look like, and I look like this guy, and I always stand by for him, and whatever. And it's just wonderful. It's a thing of beauty, but it's a lot of work. And what I'm saying is, if these things are worth it to you, do the work. I mean, we've had some people come into VITA and sit down and go, short form, standard deduction. I don't want to go through all this nonsense. And I say, okay, it's your money. It's your money. It's nobody else's. It's yours. You want to keep it? You want to keep more of it? You want to fight for it? I'm your girl. You don't? That's okay too, right? So tips and gratuities, backstage dressers, stage door personnel. I'd keep a playbill to show who these people, they're all listed. The caterer's listed, for God's sakes. I mean, everybody's listed everywhere. So, and know what is customary and usual in your area for tipping stage door personnel, for tipping dressers. When I work in the theater, it's regionally, and we usually wait until the end of the gig, and then we tip the dresser. And I'll tip the wig person and anybody who's done anything in particular for me. Sometimes I've had to have dressers on a show all through the run, So I've got several people to tip. I usually do it at the end as opposed to weekly. But you know the gigs you work. Broadway, of course, there are weekly gratuities. Write them down in your calendar. That's the best place to put them. Because you can't get a receipt from these people, right? No. But you got the playbill that says Joe Dokes is this person and Jane Doe is this person, and you say, and it's ordinary and customary that I, $10 a week to this one, $5 a week to that one, $20 a week to that one. That's what you do. And I've never had a problem with it in an examination. Trade publications, backstage, variety, performer cues, call sheet, et cetera. You can get receipts even if you have an online subscription. We have people say, I do it online so I don't get any receipt. Yes, you get a receipt. You can get a receipt, right? Get it. Travel expenses, we'll get to that. Transportation and transit-seeking employment. Public transit, taxi, livery, shuttle, etc. People ask us about monthly cards. If you have the CTA or the MTA, and you've got, you buy a card that you pay one price and you have a monthly amount. How do you apportion that? Well, again, you look in your calendar, right? You've got all of your appointments there, every one of them. If you were at the union for an EPA. If you came in to check the postings. If you had an audition downtown. If you had a class. They're all in your calendar. right? That's the best place to look for those. And then you add up the amounts round trip and you take those off. That's what I would do. That's what we recommend to our members, and that's what works. Union dues and initiation fees, don't forget your working dues. A lot of people forget the 1.575% for SAG-AFTRA and the 2.25% for equity. If you really are in a muddle about all this, your membership department can probably help you out with a printout of everything you've paid in dues over the last year. But where are you going to find that? You're going to find it on pay stubs, or you're going to find it on your dues billing, because each union sends you a semi-annual dues billing, and they very often will include the working dues on it. Okay? Wardrobe and cleaning, costumes and specialized dancewear. No streetwear. None. I don't care if it's for an audition. I don't care if it makes you look fabulous. If it's not a costume or dancewear, it's not deductible. Why? Because nobody gets to deduct clothes that are suitable for streetwear. The only people who won that argument were the musicians at Carnegie Hall. They won the use of their tuxedos and their black skirts and blouses. And it was a hard-fought fight, and it was decided at the district level only, which means it doesn't apply anywhere else. I mean, I'd argue it if somebody told me that I had to appear on camera in black tie. I'd make them write it out, and I'd take that rental off.